What's up, my fellow legendaries? Rainquaz here, and I'm bringing you the Neo-Spacian hero profile. So yeah, we'll get right into it. I have been away for a week, so that's a thing, and I'm probably gonna have an E3 update video later. But yeah, we'll just delve into that briefly. Fairy type has been released like I thought, so yeah, that's pretty cool. Not bad at all. I might try some Oversoul in this deck and stuff. We'll see. But for now, we got two Neos. He's a pretty bad card that draw. You pretty much want him for Miracle Contact or to send the graveyard for Prisma. The deck doesn't really use Polymerization to get out the Neo-Spacian guys to get shuffled back into the deck, which you can use Prisma for, by the way. But what was I thinking? Yeah, you still need stuff like Super Poly to go into your stuff like Neos Knight, Nova Master, The Shining, or Abzio. We have 3 Prisma. It's pretty much to send your Neos to the grave, copy his name, so that you can contact fusion with your Neo-Spacian and Prisma. I'm thinking about trying some ultimate offerings in the deck. I misspelled that. What is it? Really, ultimate offerings are limited? What? Wow. Oh yeah. Actually, I'm thinking about using Dev Pro, so I might do it on Dev Pro. On Stratos, it gets you all your hero stuff. You can also blow up spell and trap cards. It doesn't have any heavy storms, so it can be useful for clearing the spell and trap cards. Pretty much you either get your Neos or your Prisma with it. Because those are the only 2 heroes, because Neo-Space Pathfinder sadly is not a hero. Neither is Crossporter. Why can't it be like Hero-Spacians? Why do have to be Neo-Spacians? Okay, anyway, I run 1 Crossporter, he's pretty cool. You can send one monster you control the graveyard, which includes himself. Special summon 1 Neo-Spacian monster from your hand, and when it's sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Neo-Spacian monster from your deck to your hand. So play to do is to like set it, protect him with like Fiendish Chain or Compulse. Then next turn, flip summon him, tribute him, send himself. Special summon Neo-Spacian, normal summon Prisma, send Neos, and instant contact into whatever one you need. Now, the thing you should know about the contacts is they normally get shuffled back in the end phase, which is why I use Neo-Space. You don't have to use Neo-Space, but I use Neo-Space. It gives them an attack boost, and it keeps the deck from being super derpy and having to restart every play during the end of each turn to just being like, well, it's still derpy, but it's more consistent. Now we have 2 Neo-Space Pathfinder. He's pretty much the Commandant in the deck, but except he's better. You discard him to add Neo-Space from the deck or graveyard to your hand. So that's why I only run 2 copies of Neo-Space in the deck, is because he can grab him back from the grave. He also has a pretty solid attack. I just wish he would gain a boost from frickin' Neo-Space and then become a 2300. Which is why I'm thinking about running Neos Alias, because Neos Alias, when you re-normal summon him, gets a boost from Neo-Space. Also worth mentioning, Prisma, when it copies the name of Neos, gets a boost from Neo-Space. So if you need a 2200 beat stick, you can just dump a Neos to get to a 2200 attack. He's basically a terraform. Neo-Space Pathfinder is pretty much a terraforming, so yeah. Air Hummingbird, he's really good. You can gain 500 life points for each card in your opponent's hand. I gained 3,000 life points the other day against Crobat, which ended up winning me the game I almost lost, but then I pulled it out using Dark Panther. Panther is really cool. I'll show him in a second. And especially an Aquadolphin, he's really cool. He's actually a warrior, so you can search him out with Rhoda randomly. His effect is once per turn. You can discard 1 card, look at your opponent's hand, and choose 1 monster card in it. If you control a monster of attack greater than or equal to the attack of the chosen card, destroy that chosen card and inflict 500 damage to your opponent. Otherwise, take 500 points of damage. So it's not bad. You don't even have, if you have just him on board, you can discard a card, look at your opponent's hand, and try to get rid of a card. Just like see what your opponent has there. Like if your opponent has like super polymerization in hand, then you know that you really don't want to go in over. You don't want to overextend because they can just shut down your whatever you do with Super Poly next turn. He's facing Dark Panther. He's incredible. Once per turn, you can target and face-up monster opponent controls until the end phase. While you control this face-up card, this card's name and effects become those of the target. So they're playing against another elemental hero deck. He can become an elemental hero. He can copy Prisma if you're playing against extra on Prisma. He can get all your combos off. He's really good for that. What else? His effects also become the same. So if you're like your opponent has a Red Dragon Archfiend in defense or in attack mode and everything else is in defense mode, or Red Dragon Archfiend's in defense mode and everything else is, or something, or you like I don't know how you change them all to defense mode. Never mind. But yeah, you can copy his effect of destroying all defense position monsters your opponent controls after he declares an attack. So you can just attack into their one of their monsters. It doesn't matter if you just have to like kill one of their monsters. I believe. I think you have to kill one of them. And then you just wipe the rest of the board for the rest of their defensive monsters. Or if your opponent has an absolute 0, you can copy that effect, ram into one of your opponent's monsters, kill this, and then wipe your opponent's board of monsters. So it's pretty much an instant Dark Hole. I really should run a copy of Dark Hole in this deck, speaking of which. Where's Dark Hole? Apparently I have to type an extra letter. There we go. I'll run it over... I don't know. What do I want to run it over? And my life points are pretty precious. I'll take out Solemn Judgment. Oh, okay. 2 Flame Scarab. It's not the best. Flare Scarab. It's not the best card ever, but it has an incredible elemental. It has an incredible contact fusion guy. It gains 500 attack for each spell and trap card on the field, which pretty much basically all you have to have is Neo-Spacian, because it gains 500 attack from Neo-Spacian, and then it gets a 400 extra attack boost from its own effect. It's going to be really handy. Flare Scarab doesn't have the worst effect in the world. It gains 400 attack for each spell and trap card your opponent controls, which if your opponent has to peak 6 spell and trap cards, it can peak out at 2,900 attack, but typically it wouldn't go over 2,500 attack if they have a full back row. Now you might be like, oh, you're probably going to be able to stop the attack if they have huge back rows, which that's probably true, but at least you can bait it out with Flare Scarab instead of with your frickin' one of your contact fusion guys. Also, we're mentioning is Dark Neos. He's a guy that you bring out with Dark Panther, and he's pretty incredible. He must first be special summoned from the extra deck by shuffling the above cards you control to the deck, and that's the same. If it's not already targeting a monster with this effect, you can target when face-up effect monster on the field. While you control this face-up card, that card's effect on the field is negated. It typically shovels itself back into the deck at the end phase, but Neo-Spacian keeps it on board. Now, I'm not 100% sure if it works on your opponent's monsters. I think it does, just because all it says is, as long as it's not targeting a monster, you may choose one. It doesn't say, like, only during your turn. Or once, because, well, it's not once during each of a player's turn. And also, a good thing about Dark Neos is he has 3,000 attack under Neo-Spacian, so whatever monster you're targeting, you're probably going to be able to poke over next turn, since it doesn't get its effect. Like, you can negate them dogmas, and, well, Plasma, I believe, negates him, because Plasma is summoned, and his effect auto-negates everything on board, so I don't think you can chain Dark Neos' effect, because it's on the summon. And typically monsters can't negate effects on the summon. Also, turn player usually gets priority. I got just a random copy of Chaos Neos, which if I get a Neos, Dark Panther, and Glowmoss, I can bring him out. And when he goes back to the extra deck, you can set all face-up monsters on the field, which can be handy for Dark Panther. But once per turn, during your main phase 1, you can toss a coin 3 times. You get 3 heads to destroy all monsters opponent controls, 2 heads for the rest of the turn. The effects of all face-up monsters opponent controls are negated. 1 head, return all monsters you control to the hand. Which can be risky, but it's a pretty good effect. I'm also looking into another Neo-Spacian card, which is... where is it? Oh, this guy. Storm Neos, which will actually be able to make, because you have Aqueduct and Air Hummingbird. I misread it earlier. So I think I'm going to modify this deck right on the spot. Hang on, guys. I'll pause the record. Oops. Pause the recording and then resume in. Okay, so I took out a copy of Neos Knight for Storm Neos. Storm Neos' effect is incredible. Actually, hang on. I'll finish running through the monsters and I'll go into all the fusions at once. Glow Moss, it's not the worst card in the world. It's risky. Your opponent gets to draw a card when they attack it. But, oh my gosh, stay. Okay, there. If it's they draw a monster, it ends the battle phase, so it's like it could be a battle fader. If it's a spell, if he's attacking, he can attack directly, but that never happens. I mean, the trap changes this card to defense mode. Which, pretty much if they get a monster, it ends the battle phase. It's the only important thing. It's also a guy you can send to the grave. I mean, how do you get to grave? I want to take a copy of... God darn, I'm constantly changing stuff in the deck. Well, run Foolish Burial. Because it sends stuff right to the grave, so it also works for The Shining. So that can be handy. Shining's a movie. Yeah, it is. But yeah. I really don't feel like the deck needs double E-call. We'll go for that. There we go. Okay, where was I? Oh, yes. So I'm writing 2 copies of Aquadolph, and I put another copy of them in. And then Grand Mole, you know how much I like Grand Mole. It's a really good card. It happens to be a Neo-Spacian. And Grand Neos isn't that bad of a card, so yeah. That's pretty straightforward. Super Poly, because you've got a lot. I run like one of each of the attribute guys. I run Fire, Dark, Water, and Light. Light, Fire, Dark, and Water. So my opponent's playing light, fires, darks, or waters in their deck. I can super poly with their stuff. I can also super poly with my quote-unquote dead Neo-Spacians, bring out a powerful monster. Then immediately use Miracle Contact and shuffle them back into the deck. I'll get there in a sec. Foolish Burial, basically to dump either Neos directly into the grave if I don't have a Prisma on board, or I can dump the... Or you can send Crossporter to grab a Neo-Spacian from your deck to your hand. Or you can dump a Neo-Spacian directly into the grave. It's up to you. 1 Convert Contact. It's sort of like Destiny Draw, except not quite the same. You send a Neo-Spacian from your hand and from your deck to grave, then draw 2 cards. Unfortunately, you have to have no monsters on board, which used to be really handy in an old version of this deck I built. Well, my friend sort of one of my old friends on here gave it to me. But yeah, it didn't run Neo-Space, but it was really, really derpy, because every end phase, everything you built up was sent right back to the deck. I really didn't like it too much, so that's why I'm running Neo-Space. 1 E-Call, it's basically an extra reinforcement of the army. I don't really have to explain either of those. Miracle Contact, it's sort of like Miracle Fusion, except not. You shuffle from your hand, field, or graveyard stuff for a Contact Fusion. Then you can special summon, ignoring its summoning conditions, which under Neo-Space you basically get a 3k attack monster with a really good effect. I have a copy of Glow Neos because Glow Moss, because Glow Neos is really good. Oh my god, a copy of Dark Hole, pretty staple. Miracle Fusion, like I said, the deck has a lot of attributes in it, so it's easy to pull off the Shining. I mean, you can be like, normal summon Prisma, effect send Neos to become Elemental Hero Neos, discard Pathfinder to get Neo-Space back. You now have an Elemental Hero and a Light in the grave. So you can go into Shining. It only has 2900 attack, sure, but you still have Prisma on board, which is still Elemental Hero Neo, so if you have another Neo-Spacian, you can Contact Fusion, because you now have Neo-Space on board. It makes up for some really good plays. I don't really have to spend 2 Mystical Space Typhoon. I don't run a Heavy Storm in the deck, because I run Neo-Space, and it's pretty important to have Neo-Space on board. Even though I can get it back with Pathfinder, I'd still rather just, you know... You understand, I'm sure. If you don't, then fine. I have 2 Compulse, 2 Fiendish Chain, and Solemn Warning. That's just for a bit of a anti-meta feel. It lets me get rid of my opponent's pesky cards, shut them down, or just straight up stop them from being summoned. It's basically there because the deck wants to slow your opponent's deck to your own pace, because this deck can get some pretty bad draws. Think about running Magical Mal, but it's -1, and the deck doesn't need it super bad. I already explained Absolute Zero. Escuridao, I already explained you. I'm going to just move all the elemental guys next to each other. Okay. Whoops. Oh, wow. Now I have to search for another one. Okay, there we go. And you. Nova Master. I've got a copy of Neos Knight just because I got a lot of warriors and Neos. I can make him. It's not the best card. It gains attack equal to half the attack of the other monster aside from Neos. It can attack twice during each battle phase, but your opponent takes no battle damage from battles involving it. And so yeah, it's not the best card in the world, but it's there because it has Neos' name on it, so I just like revealing it for Prisma. It's not the worst card in the world either. And it's also light, so you can make shining plays with it. Air Neos, which is basically an anti-air hummingbird. When your life points are lower than your opponent's, it gains attack equal to the difference. But you gain life points with air hummingbird. So basically, if you can't get air hummingbird off, it's good to make him, and you gain an attack boost, which is not bad at all. Aqua Neos, you discard a card to discard one random card in your opponent's hand, which can be useful because you can get rid of those dead either Neo-Spacians or those dead Neos in hand, which you can send right back with Neo Contact. The deck sends cards back a lot, constantly recycling your stuff. I already explained Chaos Neos, and Dark Neos, and Flare Scarab. I didn't explain Glow Neos. Okay, Glow Neos, once per turn during your main phase 1, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls, destroy it, then apply an effect based on it. You either destroy a monster, Glow Neos can attack this turn. Spell, this card can attack your opponent directly this turn. If your opponent has face-up spell cards, yeah, just destroy it. If your opponent has traps, you can change this card to defense mode. This is pretty much your anti-wave motion cannon and anti-royal decree. It can also get rid of those pesky monsters. The fact that it can attack this turn isn't that bad because Neo-Space makes him a 3000 attack monster, and your opponent's probably not going to be able to summon something to instantly get over him that they aren't willing to let you negate your attack with Glow Neos for the turn to blow up. Also, it's worth mentioning that it's not like Malefics. You may have as many Neos monsters on board at once as you want. Well, basically as you can make. Then I've got Grand Neos, just because Grand Mole is such a good card, and you can get to recycle them back to your deck with Miracle Contact when you do it right. Once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls. Return that target to the hand. You don't even have to return this guy. So much, just get out of my face so I can attack you directly or something like that. It's not bad. I personally like Grand Mole better, but because it returns itself to hand so you can recycle it, but I mean it sort of does that when you don't have Neo-Space on board, but eh. And then I have the mother of all Neos cards. We've got Neos, Air Hummingbird, and Aqua Dolphin. He must be special summoned from the extra deck by shuffling you both cards into the deck. I don't think I run Monster Reborn in this deck. Wow. Oh, I might as well just put Monster Reborn. Because a lot of the Neos guys can be re-special summoned. What do I want to cut? There's a lot of spell cards in this deck, but the deck needs most of the spell cards. Top right. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I have 41 cards in the deck. The deck recycles its stuff. Once per turn, you can destroy all spell and trap cards on the field. So you can, which I know it's a bit risky because you wipe your board, you get rid of your Neo-Space. But he has another effect that benefits from it. And also, you get a, what is it? There's like a boost you can get. Well, you can get back with frickin' Neo Pathfinder, or if you have another one in the hand to begin with, you can just use that effect. Wipe your opponent's board, and when this card happens to be shuffled back into the extra deck, shuffle all cards on the field into the deck. which isn't bad. So when it's shuffled back, when it finally goes back into the extra deck, you get its effect off. Also, another reason you can say I can run Compulse is because I can Compulse stuff back into the extra deck to get their extra effects. Like Compulse my opponent tries to attack over Chaos Neos, Compulse Chaos Neos back into the extra deck, flip all my opponent's monsters to face down defense mode. Yep, I'll face up monsters. Yeah, they set, so anything that's not set gets set. Or if your opponent's trying to attack over Storm Neos, I can Compulse it back to the extra deck, then shuffle everything on the field into the deck. So yeah, I feel like this deck is pretty cool. I'm planning on getting duels with it in the near future. And I know this was a bit of a long video, guys, but please leave a like rating if you like this. Comment, subscribe, do your thing. I mean, if you like this video, please comment on it. And I mean, if you really like this deck idea, comment on it so I know to get duels with this now instead of later. Okay, so yeah. Peace, YouTube.